As you step toward the airplane, feeling a mix of excitement and perhaps a little nervousness, you take your seat and watch the cabin door close behind you. The engines start to rumble, growing louder and more intense, and the pilot's voice crackles over the intercom. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We are now at our final preparations for takeoff. You lean forward in your seat, curiosity peaked. Just what are these pilots doing right now behind those locked doors? The engines roar to life, their powerful thrust pushing against the ground. The pilot and co-pilot sit securely in their seats, both eyes glued to intricate gauges, checklists, and screens. The cockpit is a bustling yet focused workspace where every second counts. And here's the surprising part. What they're doing right now is incredibly simple, yet incredibly important. They're checking that all systems are go, ensuring everything is operating as it should. From making sure the flaps and landing gear are in the correct positions, to verifying that the weather is clear enough for departure. This moment is all about preparation. And here's the surprising part. The pilots are like mechanics, but for the plane. They're checking all the gauges and systems to make sure everything is running smoothly. It's just like when you check your car before a long drive. Imagine you're about to start a long road trip. You wouldn't hit the gas without making sure the oil level is good, the tires are properly inflated, and the brakes aren't worn out. Pilots do the same thing, but for the entire aircraft. First, they look at the fuel gauges. Just like how you make sure your car has enough gas for the journey, pilots check to ensure there's plenty of fuel to get them safely airborne and back down again. Next, they turn their attention to the engine instruments. It's kind of like checking if all the pistons are clicking correctly in your car engine. If anything seems off, they'll call a mechanic, just like you would with your car, because every little detail counts when it comes to flying safely. Then there's the weather. Pilots check the forecast just as you might check the weather before heading out for a day hike. They want to know if conditions are going to be smooth or if they need to expect any turbulence. This helps them plan the flight and choose the best route to avoid potential hazards. And of course, they'll look at all the other systems, like communication radios, navigation equipment, and even the toilet system. Yes, really. A full plane needs a functioning lavatory as much as your car does its wipers. Each one is crucial, just like how your car's heater needs to work when it's cold outside. Pilots do all these checks not because they're being overly cautious, although that helps, but because every system in the plane could be a critical part of getting you safely into the air. It's akin to making sure everything on board is as ready as possible for your trip, whether we're talking about a car or a commercial airliner. Now that our pilot has confirmed all systems are go, let's see what happens next in the cockpit. You know how when you're about to play catch, you hold your baseball or tennis ball at a certain angle so it flies better? Well, there's something similar happening here. The plane needs to be set up for takeoff just right. The pilot and co-pilot start by adjusting the flaps, those little wings on the back edge of the main wing. By moving these down slightly, they create more lift during takeoff. This is like tilting a paper airplane's wings at an angle, so it goes higher when you throw it. Next, they check the trim settings to make sure the plane will fly smoothly once it's in the air. They use a control called the stabilizer to adjust how much nose up or nose down force the plane needs. Imagine you're on a seesaw. Trimming helps balance the plane so it doesn't tip too far one way when it starts climbing. And here's the surprising part. They also set the engines to their takeoff thrust. This is like giving your bicycle the biggest gear and pedaling with full force right before starting, just enough power to get that first burst of speed without burning out too fast. Once everything is set, the co-pilot will make sure all cockpit displays are showing green lights or indications that all systems are go. The pilot then gives a final check of the runway conditions and weather reports. And now, it's time for the next crucial step, communications check. Just like how your parents might call each other to make sure they're both ready before starting a big project at home, pilots have their own form of communication too. Imagine you and your friend are about to start building a complex Lego city. Before you begin, you'd want to know that you're on the same page, deciding who's going to build which part. Pilots do something similar with air traffic control, ATC. The pilot will call ATC and say, "Ground, Delta Airlines Flight 123, ready for takeoff." It's like saying, "Hey mom, we're getting started on the big Lego city. Are you okay to start too? Here's a fun analogy. Think of it as a group chat where everyone is checking in. The pilot is sending out a message that says, "Hey team, this project is about to begin. Make sure no one else is on the runway." The controller will respond with important details, like the exact heading and instructions for how to get onto the runway safely. It's all about making sure everyone knows what's happening next. So, while it might sound a bit like a radio drama, this check-in is incredibly important. It ensures that no one is left out of the loop and everything proceeds smoothly. As the plane starts to move down the runway, you might feel a sense of anticipation building. But what are the pilots doing right now? They're making final preparations and ensuring everything is just right for takeoff, just like lining up your toys before starting a race. First, they're closely watching the runway ahead. It's their job to make sure the path is clear and free from any obstacles that could cause trouble. Imagine you're racing on a track. You wouldn't want someone or something blocking your way, right? The pilots are doing the same thing, but with a much bigger stage. Next, they check the instruments one last time. It's like double-checking all the dials and buttons in your favorite video game to make sure everything is functioning properly. They're making sure the altimeter, the device that measures altitude, is calibrated correctly, the speedometer, which shows how fast you're going, is working smoothly, and the pitot tube, a small tube on the outside of the plane used for airspeed measurement, isn't blocked by any debris. And here's the surprising part. Pilots also make sure the flaps are set just right. Flaps are those little wings that come down from the edge of the main wing, and they help lift the plane during takeoff. It's like adjusting the wings on a model airplane to make it fly higher and faster. The pilots ensure these flaps are precisely where they need to be for smooth and safe takeoff. Finally, the engines are running smoothly, providing the power needed to get the plane moving. Just as you might test your bike before riding off, the pilots monitor engine performance to ensure everything is in top condition. Incredibly rare, but sometimes there's a slight adjustment of the throttle or even a tiny change in heading to perfect the takeoff path. It's all about ensuring the best possible conditions for when they reach the end of the runway, where it really gets exciting and you start climbing into the skies. And then, the moment arrives, takeoff. The pilots guide the plane into the sky with precision. It's like they're playing a game of air hockey, but instead of hitting a puck, they're lifting an entire airplane. The engines are roaring, and the plane is slowly churning down the tarmac. The cabin feels like it's holding its breath as everyone waits for that exhilarating moment when gravity lets go. VR comes the sound, and suddenly the plane is airborne. It's a relief, but there's still much to be done. The pilots have their hands on the yoke. Think of it as a steering wheel, but instead of turning left or right, they're gently pulling back to lift the plane. Imagine you're trying to pull your luggage up a slight incline. That's the kind of force they're applying, but with incredible precision. And here's the surprising part. There's no magic involved. They're simply using the power of the engines and the aerodynamics of the wings. The wings are designed to create lift. Think of how an airplane wing is like a speedboat's hull slicing through air instead of water. As the plane gains altitude and speed, those wings start to push against the air and pull the plane up. It's not just a straight climb either. Pilots carefully monitor the angle and direction of ascent. They might need to make slight turns or adjustments to keep the plane on course and ensure it reaches a safe cruising altitude as quickly as possible. It's like driving a car, but on an invisible road that's always changing. And here's another cool fact. During takeoff, you'll often see the flaps and slats extend. These are little wings on the edges of the main wing. They increase lift, just like adding more fins to a model boat, making it easier for the plane to take off from the ground. Once they're up in the air, these are retracted to improve efficiency and speed. As we keep climbing, you might notice the seats push back slightly into their retraction position. This is because the plane needs to maintain stability. It's like when you're standing on a bus that's moving. If the bus suddenly slows down or stops, your body wants to keep going forward. The same principle applies here. The smooth takeoff is a testament to years of training and planning. Pilots are always watching instruments and communicating with each other to make sure everything goes exactly as planned. And once we hit that cruising altitude, you can relax, because from up there, The world below looks like a breathtakingly beautiful map stretching out under your plane.